You know that voice in your head? The one that whispers, "You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? You'll mess this up." Yeah, that voice. We all have it. It's the voice of self-doubt, and it's been holding you back, stealing opportunities and convincing you to play it safe. But here's the truth. That voice is a liar. And the only reason it has power is because you've been listening. Today, that changes. Today, we're going to talk about how to silence that inner critic, how to take action even when you're scared, and how to stop waiting for confidence to show up. Because confidence doesn't come first, action does. And it's time to take control. The problem with self-doubt is that it feels real. It sounds like the truth. It disguises itself as logic, caution, or even humility. But it's none of those things. It's just fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. And if you let that fear dictate your choices, you will never reach your full potential. The hardest part about overcoming self-doubt isn't learning something new, it's unlearning the lies you've been telling yourself for years. Think about how many times you've talked yourself out of something. You had an idea, a goal, or a dream, and then your mind started running its usual script. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I don't know enough? And instead of pushing forward, you hesitated. You waited. You convinced yourself it wasn't the right time, that you needed more preparation, that you weren't ready. But here's the truth. You will never feel ready. Waiting for confidence is like waiting for a bus that's never coming. The only way to get rid of self-doubt is to take action before you feel ready. Your brain is wired to protect you. It's designed to keep you safe, which means it will do everything in its power to steer you away from uncertainty and discomfort. And when you step outside your comfort zone, your brain freaks out. It sends alarms. This is risky. This could go wrong. Turn back. But here's the thing. Growth only happens outside your comfort zone. If you let your brain's fear response control your decisions, you will stay stuck. You will stay in the same place with the same dreams, the same excuses, and the same regrets. If you want to overcome self-doubt, you have to break the habit of overthinking. Overthinking is the #1 killer of confidence. You get an idea, and instead of acting on it, you analyze it to death. You start imagining worst-case scenarios. You convince yourself you need more time, more information, more validation, and before you know it, the moment is gone. Self-doubt thrives in the space between intention and action. The longer you wait, the stronger it gets. The secret to beating self-doubt is to shorten that gap. When you feel an impulse to do something that aligns with your goals, you have to act before your brain talks you out of it. Because if you hesitate, your mind will fill the space with fear and excuses. The only way to break that cycle is to move. Immediately. Make the call, send the email, say yes, put yourself out there. Do it before you feel ready, and confidence will follow. Think about the most successful people you admire. Do you think they never struggled with self-doubt? Of course they did. The difference is they didn't let it stop them. They took action despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, despite the voice in their head telling them they weren't good enough. They understood that confidence is not a feeling, it's a skill. And like any skill, it gets stronger with practice. You have to start collecting proof that you are capable. Every time you take action despite self-doubt, you build evidence that you can handle discomfort, that you can figure things out, that you are more powerful than you think. Confidence isn't something you are born with. It's something you earn through experience. The problem is most people never give themselves that chance. They let self-doubt win before they even try. They assume that because they feel unsure, it must mean they aren't ready. But confidence doesn't come from knowing exactly how things will turn out. It comes from trusting yourself to handle whatever happens. Fear and excitement feel the same in your body. The only difference is how you interpret them. If you tell yourself, "I'm scared," your brain believes you. It activates your fight or flight response, and suddenly your doubts feel even more real. But if you reframe that feeling and tell yourself, "I'm excited. This is an opportunity. I'm ready," your brain shifts. Instead of looking for reasons to back out, it starts looking for reasons to move forward. Your thoughts create your reality. If you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, your brain will find evidence to support that belief. It will remind you of every mistake you've ever made, every time you've been rejected, every time you've felt small. But if you start telling yourself a different story, Your brain will start looking for proof of that too. It will remind you of the times you succeeded, the times you figured things out, the times you showed up even when it was hard. The more you focus on what you can do instead of what you can't, the more your confidence grows. You don't need to be fearless to take action. You just need to be willing to move forward despite the fear. You need to stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for someone else to tell you you're good enough, because no one is coming to hand you confidence. No one is coming to silence your self-doubt for you. That's your job. The people who succeed aren't the ones who have no fear. They're the ones who take action anyway. They're the ones who show up, who keep going, who refuse to let their doubts dictate their choices. And that's a choice you can make too. It starts with recognizing that self-doubt is just a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. If you want to stop doubting yourself, you have to prove to yourself that you are capable. And that means taking action even when you don't feel ready. It means doing the thing before you feel confident, because confidence isn't the prerequisite, it's the result. It means understanding that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more. Your growth, your dreams, your potential. They matter more than your temporary discomfort. You will never eliminate fear, but you can learn to act alongside it. You can learn to recognize fear as a sign that you're stepping into something meaningful, something that will expand you, challenge you, and shape you into a stronger version of yourself. That's the place where real growth happens. You don't overcome self-doubt by thinking your way out of it. You overcome it by doing the very thing you're scared of and proving to yourself that you can. Every small act of courage chips away at self-doubt. Every step forward, no matter how small, weakens its grip. And over time, you start to realize that the voice in your head is just that, a voice. It isn't reality. It isn't a prophecy. It isn't fact. It's just fear dressed up as logic, and you don't have to obey it. You have to start noticing when self-doubt is driving your decisions, when you hesitate to speak up in a meeting, when you hold back from starting a new project, when you tell yourself you're not qualified enough or experienced enough or talented enough. That's self-doubt calling the shots. The first step to breaking free is recognizing when it's happening. Catch it, name it, and then decide to act anyway. Because the moment you act, you interrupt the cycle. You create a crack in that old habit, and you give yourself a new experience, one where fear doesn't win. And when you act, don't expect perfection. Don't expect to feel ready or fearless. Expect it to be messy. Expect to feel awkward and uncertain. That's how growth feels. If you wait until you feel completely confident, you'll never do it. But if you're willing to start before you're ready, you'll learn faster, grow stronger, and discover that you're more capable than you ever thought. Confidence isn't built by avoiding failure, it's built by surviving it, by realizing that mistakes don't break you, that rejection doesn't define you, that one setback doesn't mean you're a failure. Start celebrating small wins. Every time you do something despite self-doubt, recognize it, celebrate it. That's how you train your brain to associate courage with success, not fear. Because right now, your brain is wired to keep you safe, which means it's wired to keep you small. But you can change that. You can create new associations. You can teach yourself that discomfort is not danger, that fear is not failure, that action is not only safe but empowering. And let's be real, self-doubt never fully disappears. It will show up every time you level up, every time you push beyond your comfort zone. But that's not a sign to stop. That's a sign you're doing something that matters. Doubt isn't a dead end, it's a doorway. It's the brain's way of signaling that you're about to stretch into new territory. So when it shows up, don't shrink back. Step through. Take the action. Prove to yourself that you can handle it. Because once you do, your comfort zone expands. What once felt terrifying becomes normal. And what's normal becomes easy. Self-doubt can only survive in silence and inaction. It grows stronger when you keep it in your head, when you let it control your choices, when you avoid the things that scare you. But the moment you take action, you expose it for what it really is, just thoughts. Thoughts that can't hurt you, thoughts that lose power the second you confront them. You also have to watch who you're listening to, because self-doubt can come from outside voices too. People who project their fears onto you, people who tell you to play it safe, people who say, "Are you sure you can do that? What if it doesn't work? Maybe you should wait." And they might mean well, but their fear isn't your fear. Their limitations aren't your limitations. Just because they can't see your vision doesn't mean it isn't real. Just because they wouldn't take the risk doesn't mean you shouldn't. Be careful whose opinions you allow to shape your action, because most people are speaking from their own experiences, their own fears, their own insecurities. If you only listen to those who play it safe, you'll start living a small, safe life too. But if you surround yourself with people who believe in growth, who challenge themselves, who embrace risks, you'll start seeing fear as a signpost, not a stop sign. And remember this, you're not alone. Everyone deals with self-doubt, even the people you admire most. The authors, the entrepreneurs, the athletes, the leaders, they all battle that same inner voice. The difference is they've learned how to move through it. They've learned that feeling fear is part of the process, not a reason to quit. They've learned that courage is built one small act at a time. And if they can learn it, so can you. You're allowed to feel scared. You're allowed to feel unsure. But you are not allowed to let those feelings dictate your life, because if you do, you'll miss out on so much. You'll miss the opportunities that come from saying yes. You'll miss the growth that comes from failure. You'll miss the pride that comes from doing something hard. And let's talk about failure for a second, because that's one of the biggest drivers of self-doubt. The fear of getting it wrong, of falling short, of looking foolish. But failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. It's the stepping stone, the teacher, the thing that gives you the strength and knowledge to do better next time. The people who succeed aren't the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who fail fast, learn, and keep going. The ones who see every setback as information, not a reason to quit. If you're not failing at something, you're probably not stretching far enough. You're probably staying too safe, because growth requires risk. It requires vulnerability. It requires you to step into the unknown, to try things that might not work, to be willing to fall. And every time you do, you get stronger. Every time you survive a failure, you realize it didn't break you. And that realization, that's power. That's confidence. So stop trying to avoid failure. Start trying to collect it. Start aiming for it, because every failure is proof that you were brave enough to try. Every failure is a step forward. Every failure is an opportunity to learn. And don't underestimate the power of small steps. You don't have to conquer self-doubt overnight. You don't have to make massive leaps. Start small. Speak up in a meeting. Share an idea. Take one risk today, even if it's tiny, and then take another one tomorrow. Confidence isn't built in a single moment. It's built in layers, one small action at a time. And trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. You are stronger than you believe. And you are more capable than you give yourself credit for. You've survived every challenge up to this point. You've figured out things you once thought were impossible. You've grown through setbacks you thought would break you. You have proof right now that you are resilient, resourceful, and powerful. And you can carry that proof with you into the next challenge. When self-doubt creeps in, remind yourself of the facts. Remind yourself of everything you've overcome, everything you've learned, everything you've achieved. Because self-doubt isn't about facts. It's about fear. And fear is a liar. Fear will tell you that you're not ready, that you're not enough, that you can't handle it. But your past proves otherwise. Your past proves you're a fighter, a learner, a survivor, and you don't need to have it all figured out to take the next step. You just need to trust that you'll figure it out along the way. You'll learn what you need to learn, you'll adjust, you'll grow. The path doesn't have to be clear. You just have to be willing to start walking. You've got everything you need to move forward. You have courage, you have resilience, you have the ability to figure things out, and every time you act despite self-doubt, you prove that to yourself all over again, and that's the truth most people miss. You build certainty by taking action, not by waiting for it. You figure things out by stepping into the unknown, not by standing still. Every experience teaches you something, whether it goes the way you planned or not. The mistakes sharpen you. The wins strengthen you. The challenges shape you. But none of that happens if you stay stuck in your head, paralyzed by what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. It's easy to overestimate the risks and underestimate your ability to handle them. Your brain is designed to protect you, to keep you away from discomfort, but protection and progress don't always go hand in hand. Sometimes the very thing that feels uncomfortable is the exact thing you need to grow. You have to be willing to lean into that discomfort, to stop avoiding it, to start seeing it as a sign that you're stretching yourself. Because if it's easy, if it's comfortable, if it feels completely safe, it probably means you're not growing. And you can handle more than you think. You can handle fear, you can handle rejection, you can handle failure. Think about the worst thing that could happen if you take a risk. Now think about how you'd handle it. Would it be uncomfortable? Yes. Would it be hard? Maybe. But would it destroy you? No. You've been through hard things before, and you're still here. You're stronger now because of those experiences, and you'll be stronger for whatever comes next. Self-doubt wants to convince you that you can't handle it, but you've already proven that wrong in so many ways. Every challenge you've faced, every obstacle you've overcome, every time you thought you couldn't keep going but did, that's proof. Proof that you're stronger than the voice in your head. Proof that you can do hard things. Proof that self-doubt is just noise and it loses power the second you act. You don't have to take massive steps. You don't have to go all in overnight. You just have to take one step forward, and then another, and then another. That's how progress is made, not in big leaps, but in consistent small actions. Action is the antidote to self-doubt. Action is what breaks the cycle. It's what builds the evidence that you are capable, and with every small win, your confidence grows. And it's okay if it feels messy. It's okay if you stumble. It's okay if you don't get it right the first time. That's how growth works. That's how skills are developed. No one is born with confidence. No one wakes up fearless. Confidence is earned by walking through fear, by facing doubt, by doing the thing anyway. And every time you survive it, every time you realize that the fear didn't break you, you get stronger, you get braver, you get more sure of yourself. Stop waiting for clarity before you act. Clarity comes from engagement, not thought. You figure things out by doing, by testing, by trying, by failing, thinking about it, planning for it, waiting for the perfect moment. That's just a way to stay safe, to avoid risk, to avoid discomfort. But the truth is that safety is an illusion. You're not safe in hesitation. You're stuck. You're delaying growth. You're missing out on opportunities that could change your life. You don't need a perfect plan to start. You just need to start. Because action creates momentum, and momentum creates progress, and progress, even the smallest kind, builds confidence. It shifts your mindset. It teaches you that fear isn't fatal, that doubt isn't truth, that you can do things even when you're scared. You will always feel some level of uncertainty when you're trying something new. That's normal. That's how you know you're stepping into growth. So stop seeing it as a problem and start seeing it as proof that you're on the right track. Uncertainty means you're pushing your boundaries. It means you're evolving. And it means that what you're doing actually matters to you. If it didn't matter, you wouldn't be scared. If it didn't matter, you wouldn't feel doubt. So let that fear be a signal, not a stop sign. Let it guide you, not control you. And don't confuse temporary failure with permanent defeat. One rejection doesn't mean you'll always be rejected. One mistake doesn't mean you'll always fail. One moment of doubt doesn't mean you're not capable. It just means you're human. It means you're learning. It means you're trying. And that's a good thing, because every person you admire, every success story you look up to is built on a foundation of failures, missteps, and setbacks. The difference is they didn't stop. They didn't let one no define them. They didn't let one mistake make them quit. You can do the same. You can decide that failure isn't a reason to stop. It's a reason to keep going, because failure means you're trying, and trying means you're growing, and growing means you're moving closer to the life you want. Self-doubt only wins if you stop. But if you keep going, if you keep showing up, if you keep acting, doubt loses, fear loses, and you win. And don't forget that confidence is contagious. The more you act, the more you believe in yourself, and the more you believe in yourself, the more you act. It becomes a cycle, a habit, a way of living. And over time, it gets easier. The fear shrinks, the doubt fades, the courage grows. But none of that happens without that first step. the scary one, the uncertain one, the one that feels like a risk. That's the step that changes everything. And yes, you'll have moments when you stumble. You'll have moments when you question yourself. That's okay. That's normal. But the goal isn't to never feel doubt. The goal is to feel it and act anyway, to recognize it and move forward, to hear the voice and choose not to listen. That's strength. That's resilience. That's how you overcome. It's about learning to trust yourself, not in the absence of fear, but despite it. It's about knowing that you don't have to have all the answers to take action. You just have to trust that you'll figure it out along the way. And you will, because you've done it before, and you can do it again. And if you need proof, look back. Think about the moments when you were scared but took action anyway. Think about the times you doubted yourself but kept going. Think about everything you've already survived, learned, and achieved. That's not luck. That's strength, that's courage, that's resilience. And it's already in you. You just have to choose to see it. Because confidence isn't something you find, it's something you create. It's something you build. It's something you earn by doing the hard thing, by facing the fear, by showing up even when it's uncomfortable. It's the result of action, not the cause of it. And the more you act, the more you build it. The more you challenge your doubt, the weaker it becomes. The more you move forward, the more unstoppable you feel. And that's how you change. That's how you grow. That's how you create a life where self-doubt doesn't control you, where fear doesn't dictate your choices, where you can feel scared, but still move forward. Because you've learned that fear is just a feeling, not a fact. And it doesn't get to decide what you do. You do. So when self-doubt shows up, and it will, remember that it doesn't define you. It's just noise, just fear trying to keep you safe and small. But you are not small. You are capable, resilient, and stronger than you realize. The only way to silence that doubt is through action. Small steps, daily choices, consistent courage. You don't have to be fearless to move forward. You just have to be willing, and willing to try, willing to fail, willing to learn, and willing to rise again. Because every time you do, you prove to yourself that self-doubt is just a story, and you are the one writing the ending.